So now we come to another sutta which talks about the Dhamma from another point of view, and this is the famous idea of the Lokadhamma, which you will have heard of. Yeah, Lokadhamma, the conditions of the world, or the phenomena, worldly phenomena is another way of translating this. And this is talked about, you hear about this sometimes. It's not a very common theme in the suttas, not that common. So that's kind of useful to know. Important to focus on those things that are the most common, because that is what the Buddha laid the most emphasis on, and that's what we should also put the most emphasis on. But nevertheless, it kind of fits with the theme. Yeah, so worldly phenomena, this is again the idea of being trapped in this worldly phenomena. This is kind of what this is about. So let's see what the Buddha has to say about this. Mendicants, the 8 worldly phenomena, Lokadhamma, revolve around the world, and the world revolves around these 8 worldly phenomena. Yeah, so the idea here is that these 8 things, which are basically gain and loss, happiness and the suffering, fame and obscurity, praise and blame, these are kind of the 8 worldly. We'll see that in a second. These kind of are, the world is like enveloped in these things. Yeah, the world is kind of run by these things. The world is interested in these things and revolves around them, in the sense that this is the attention of the world is placed on these things. The world here means people. Yeah, all people are. This is what we are, kind of here. This is what the point, in a sense, of life for most people is these kind of things. This is the things that gets us up in the morning very often, gets us moving to do things or whatever, these 8 worldly conditions. So they are like revolve around the world, and they also cause the world to revolve more in the future. Yeah, the world keeps on revolving because of these things. So they are a trap, and they cause further entrapment in the future through the craving, etc., that these things are related to. So what 8? Yeah, gain and loss, fame and disgrace, blame and praise, pleasure and pain. Labha is gain. Labha in Pali. Labha, Sakara, Siloka is another kind of nice set of things. Loss, I think, is alabha. Fame is yasa. Remember we had the young man yasa yesterday, or the day before, whenever it was. Yasa, he means fame, that's his name. Ayasa is the opposite, disgrace. Blame and praise. Blame and praise are... Pasangsa, right, thank you. And what? Ninda. Ninda and pasangsa, okay. And then pleasure and pain, of course, dukkha and sukha. So these are the four words here behind this. And they are a little bit related to the idea of labha, sakara, siloka. These are the things that the monastics sometimes have to be careful with. Too much gain, yeah. So having the latest laptop or something like that is kind of the dangerous gain. This is not the very latest, so just letting you know. There's always danger. And then they have sakara, which is like honor. Yeah, you are honored by people, and you get attached to the idea of being honored or whatever. And then you have siloka, which is like fame, similar here to yasa, similar idea. So gain, honor, and fame, and these are things that you can become attached to. I remember I once asked Ajahn Brahm, because Ajahn Brahm was getting very famous. I said, is there a danger with fame? Do you how do you feel about all this fame, all of these people everywhere? You sit and give meditation to 5,000 people, and everyone says relax, and 5,000 people say relax. To the max. That's what he did in Korea. When he went to Korea, there was an enormous crowd of people. They had this kind of big thing. And this was kind of the mantra that he gave these people in Korea, relax to the max. And so I said, well, do you ever think that there is a danger with all of this? And he said, no, you have to be really stupid to buy into that kind of stuff. That's what he said to me. And that's kind of nice, yeah. It's this nice thing. Yeah. And that's kind of the feeling you have with Ajahn Brahm, is that there's not much sense of self there. There's not much sense that he buys into these kind of things. I've been sitting next to him for 30 years. He doesn't kind of exude much ego at all, to be perfectly honest. And that's beautiful. That's why he can make so many jokes, not take himself seriously at all, just mess around, and he will just kind of all of these kind of things. Anyway, so these are the things still that make the world go round. These 8 things. These are the things that are important to us. So then what happens? Well, these 8 worldly phenomena revolve around the world revolves around them. An unlearned ordinary person encounters gain and loss, fame and disgrace, blame and praise, and pleasure and pain. And so does a noble, learned disciple. What then is the difference between the learned, noble disciple and an ordinary, unlearned person? So who is the ordinary, unlearned person? And that is the Putujana. Putujana is the ordinary person. Unlearned is Asuttava. Asutta means you haven't heard anything. You haven't heard the Dhamma. You haven't heard any good teachings. And Putujana, you are like the many person, the ordinary person in the street. So you don't know any Dhamma. So it's like anyone. If you go around the street in any kind of city in the world, and you ask somebody, then usually there will be Putujana, unlearned Putujana. They have no idea about Dhamma, these kind of things. And so this is one way that they will react to these things. And then you have another way that a learned noble disciple, the Arya Savaka, the Suttava Arya Savaka, will relate to these things. And these are stark opposites ways of thinking about these things. And this idea, this contrast between the unlearned Putujana and the learned Arya Savaka is a standard kind of contrast in the suttas. The one hand and then on the other hand. And if we can understand that distinction between those two, we understand a lot about Dhamma, because the Arya Savaka is the one who understands the Dhamma through realizing it themselves, whereas the ordinary person here who is unlearned, that all of you are a little bit learned, so you are already kind of on the right track. But if you have no idea about these things, well, that's when you are in trouble. So this distinction and the comparison is very interesting, because that kind of points the way of the Dhamma, what is Dhamma and what is not. So how do they relate to this in different ways? This is what we're going to look at now. So first of all, we're going to look at the ordinary person. Always starts with the ordinary person, then moves on to the learned person afterwards. And the monks and the people, nuns or whoever was there, say our teachings are rooted in the Buddha. He is our guide and our refuge. Sir, may the Buddha himself please clarify the meaning of this. The mendicants will listen and remember it. It's a standard way that you see in the suttas. The Buddha asks the monastics, but then they say, oh, please, sir, clarify this. The Buddha replies, well, then, mendicants, listen and apply your minds well. I will speak. It's kind of clever, isn't it? You ask a question, and then they say, oh, we are afraid of answering in your presence, please clarify. Okay, well, if in that case, listen, right? Listen and apply your minds. It's kind of a strategy to get people to listen properly here. So what is he going to say here? Yes, sir, they're going to say. Okay. The Buddha said this. Mendicants, an unlearned ordinary person encounters gain. Right? You encounter gain. Something, you get a nice salary, you get a raise, you move into a nice house, somebody gives you something nice. Something happens in your life. Your fortune kind of gradually develops over time. You get more money. Your bank account grows. Actually, the number of zeros grows on your bank account. I don't know I don't know if that's the case for you, but if it does, then you have gain. If it doesn't, then you have loss. If you have fewer zeros in the bank account, it means you have loss instead. Hopefully you haven't got too much loss anyway. But so the point here is, what happens when you have gain? What happens when things are going well for you? And the answer is, they don't reflect. I have encountered this gain. First of all, you don't even think about the fact that, wow, this is a gain I have happened here. Now what? You kind of just take it on board. Craving says, yay, and you're just happy with it. But you don't kind of have any further reflections with it. I've encountered this gain. Interesting. What now? I got this raise from my boss. Now what is the boss going to require from me once I get the raise? Do I have to work even harder? Is that the case? Do you have to work even harder if you get a raise? Yeah, okay. Right, there you are, right? So this is kind of the drawback. You're happy about the raise, but you forget about the downside of that raise, yeah? So this is the problem. So you have to work even harder. But anyway, but then you think, it is impermanent, suffering, and perishable. And so this is kind of the thought behind all of these worldly phenomena, that they are impermanent, they are unreliable, they are uncertain. You don't know when the carpet is going to be pulled down from under your feet. You cannot really hold on to these things. The fact that you enjoy the gain means that you're already holding on to it to some extent. Yeah. When what about all the things that you have in your life? Do you hold on to those things, or don't you hold on to the things? And usually you will hold on to those things at least a little bit, because this is just the way the human mind works. But you forget that. You forget that the uncertainty of these things. And because they are uncertain, they are suffering, because they will eventually have to go. Everything has to go. That's the problem. Nothing can be held on to at the end of the day. And that is when you holding on and nature takes it away, then you're going to suffer. So impermanence, unreliability always means suffering down the track. Perishable is like just a higher kind of impermanence. It's perishable, it disappears. They don't understand it. This is what it means to understand something in Buddhism, understanding its unreliability and uncertainty. So next time you gain something, the thing you should think straight away is, it's unreliable and uncertain. That takes away a lot of the happiness on gaining things, doesn't it? Oops, I can lose it at any time. Okay, maybe I should just give it away straight away. Actually, I'm here at the BGF. Okay, this is the opportunity to give it away straight away. Maybe that's what you think instead. So it changes your attitude to these things. You don't take them so seriously anymore. You gain a raise in your company, and you think, maybe I should say no thank you to that raise. What happens if your boss says, I'm going to give you a raise, you're such a wonderful worker, we really appreciate you, here is a 10% raise. And if you say no thank you, what happens? Has anyone ever done that here? I wonder what would happen. I wonder what the boss would say. Would the boss fire you, or would they say... No, that's what they would say. They get really concerned. And maybe that's what would happen. That's a smart way of getting even more money out of the company. So, but I think the boss would start to feel a bit, whoa, what's going on here, right? What's happening with this kind of this worker of ours? And it's kind of fascinating. It goes so much against the stream of ordinary things. Anyway, so this is kind of how you think about these things. If you are a noble disciple, it is uncertain, unreliable. You don't grasp onto it. You don't consider it yours in the same way. And basically you're ready to give it up at any time. Give it away if necessary. Then you encounter all of these other things we have been looking at. And in all of these cases, it's the same problem. You forget that these things, if you become famous, or you become honored, or you become praised, the praise is only going to last so long. And as I mentioned the other day, what does that praise mean anyway? Very often we get praised for silly things, things that are irrelevant. How often do you get praised for your virtue? Not that common. Maybe sometimes you do, maybe from your parents. If you have good parents, they might, if you are being kind, your parents might praise you for being kind, But it's not a very common thing in the world. Your boss at work, will he praise you for being kind? Unlikely. Or will she praise you? Not usually, right? That's not usually what they praise you for. Maybe for kind of getting your thing in on time. Maybe they might praise you for that, but not for being kind. Even though they should. I think one of those kind of things about a company, what makes a company strong, or what makes the BGF strong, is the kind of harmony that you have in the company, or harmony you have in the BGF, or in the Sangha for that matter. That makes it strong, that makes it solid. And so if someone acts with kindness, we should praise them because they are doing something to create that harmony, to create that sense of solidity in the organization. Sometimes I think we underestimate the power of these spiritual qualities. Anyway, so they don't understand the impermanence of all of these things, and that's why you buy into it. You think, yes, more praise, yay, praise, and you want more of that. And if you don't get it, you sorrow, lament, and beat your chest, and you fall down on the ground, and these kind of things. So, gain and loss, fame, disgrace, blame and praise, pleasure, men occupy their mind. So this is the thing, is that you don't understand the danger, you don't understand the impermanence. You know kind of vaguely that you have to give it up eventually, but it's kind of this vague idea. It's not really solid. You don't really have a good grasp of the impermanence and unreliability. And because of that, you think about these things. This is one of the things, one of the ideas of reflecting after your meditation. Reflect on what was working, what wasn't working, what was going on. And one of the things that you will see, guaranteed, is that you think about exactly these kind of things. You think about the things in your life. You think about the things you own. That is mine. That is my gain. That is my house. If you got a phone call, your house is burning down, would you say, oh yeah, whatever? Or would you be concerned? Chances are you would be concerned. Is there anyone here who would just not be concerned at all? Wow, see, everyone would be concerned, right? So if someone said to me that my kuti had burned down in Bodhinyana, I probably would be a bit concerned as well. Actually, there isn't much in my kuti. That's the nice thing. It's kind of empty. Probably wouldn't be too concerned, actually. But that's because I have nothing there. But if I had a house, maybe I would be concerned too. But you can see how bound we are by these things. These things is kind of this nice idea that instead of us owning those things, it's like they own us. Because we always are preoccupied with them. We can't let go of them. And that not being able to let go is in a sense a kind of the thing owns you. If you really owned it, you would be able to give it away. That's kind of the idea of ownership. You can also give it away. If you can't give it away, it means it owns you. And so this is the thing. So look at your mind during meditation and you will start to see these 8 worldly dhammas in your mind, how they preoccupy the mind, how they bind you, how you are not free from these things. If these things own you, or you may think about someone who said something bad to you, that is kind of being owned by blame, right? Or owned by disgrace or whatever. All of these things own us. And so this is the why then that reflection on impermanence and reliability, just like we're thinking about the war in Ukraine, it might happen anywhere. Again, this is an expansion of this idea of uncertainty and reliability. You don't buy into it so much anymore. It doesn't really matter. These things don't matter so much to you. This is what the noble disciple does and what the ordinary person does not. So make this practical. Look at when these things become a problem, and usually meditation is a time when these things become a problem. It's a nice little sutta, which I have taught here before, called the Pangsudovaka Sutta, the dirt remover sutta, in the Anguttara Nikaya 3s, number 101 or something like that. And in that sutta, they talk about the various defilements of the mind and how you overcome defilements stage by stage. And the last kind of defilements are the defilements that has to do with your identity, who you are. You think about your family, your country, and these kind of things that have to do with identity. And this is similar to these kind of ideas you have here. Yeah, your identity has to do with your fame, your praise, what you identify with. That's gain in a certain way as well. So these things go a long way on the path. The most refined kind of defilements are somehow related to these things, and they block you from going deeper in meditation. So because it preoccupies the mind, they favor gain and oppose loss. Is that true? People usually favor gain and they oppose loss. It's true, isn't it? Yeah, thank you. Depends on what kind of gain. So what kind of gain do you reckon? What kind of gain would you like to have? Spiritual gain. That's good. Wisdom, okay, yeah. But I think gain here does not include wisdom. I think wisdom is outside. Yeah. But you are right. So there are some gains that are good gains. So we need to analyze. We need to be the Vibhajavadins who analyze the statement. So that is quite true. So they favor gain and they oppose loss. They favor fame. Yay, may I be famous. May I be a Hollywood or a Bollywood star. Or do you have, what is the Malaysian equivalent to Bollywood and Hollywood? Bollywood, okay. So Bollywood you have in Malaysia as well, okay. They favor fame and oppose disgrace. They favor praise and oppose blame. Don't blame me, it is not my fault. And if it is your fault, blame is okay. If it's not your fault, shrug your shoulder, who cares? That's kind of the right attitude. They favor pleasure and oppose pain. So here, when we talk about pleasure and pain, here we're talking about the worldly kind of pleasures. The entertainments. We're not talking about the spiritual pleasures, of course, or the spiritual pains, for that matter. Here. Yeah. Labha sakara siloka, the same kind of gain that you have there. Yeah, so worldly, material gain usually is what it refers to. Yeah. So, what happens next? Being so full of favoring and opposing, they are not freed from rebirth, old age and death, from sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness and distress. They are not freed from suffering, I say. Yeah, so if you have favoring and opposing, it basically means you have craving. That's what favoring and opposing is. You crave for all of these things, you are attached to all of these things, you identify with all of these things, and all of this identification and craving and attachment, all of this is the fuel for rebirth. It's the upadana that drives you on in samsaric existence. And that rebirth then carrying on in this samsara, well, that is then the suffering. You are not freed from suffering. You are bound to suffering. That's essentially what it is saying. So there you are. So what is the alternative? Now we come to the alternative. A learned noble disciple encounters gain. They reflect, I've encountered this gain. It is impermanent, suffering, and perishable. They truly understand it. So you don't attach to it, you don't hold on to it, you don't make it important, you don't make it mine. You understand it can disappear at any time. You understand that actually, whatever, okay, got some gain, it's no big deal. Yeah, you truly understand what is going on. And instead of finding your happiness and your contentment and your pleasures in life through these impermanent and silly things, superficial things, you find it somewhere else, in a deeper place. That's the whole point. By understanding the Dhamma, you are searching in the right place. So here the point again is the idea of right view leading to right intention. Right view is understanding things as they are. That leads to right intention. That right intention, well, that's part of what we mean by urgency and sangvega. Wow, right intention arises. Okay, let me do the right thing. The sangvega, the urgency is right there as part of this process. Now is the chance, now is the opportunity to do what is right. So you truly understand things in this way. Then the same thing for all the others. the loss, the fame, the disgrace, blame, praise, pleasure, and pain. They understand it is impermanent, suffering, imperishable. They truly understand it. So gain and loss, fame and disgrace, blame and praise, pleasure and mind do not occupy their mind. You are not preoccupied by these things. They don't really mind. Or your house burns down, you shrug your shoulders. Okay, whatever. Yeah. Okay, one house less, So it doesn't matter. And you can see why then your meditation is going to be very solid. If you don't even care if your house burns down, okay, you're doing pretty well. Yeah, nothing much is going to disturb you in your meditation if that's the case. Okay, your relative dies. Okay, they died. It's to be expected. Human beings die. They are born. They will die. Sometimes they die. I have done my best. I have lived with kindness. I have treated them well. I knew they were going to die. Okay, now they have to move on. I will do the idang menyat inang hotu later on. Yeah. So you support them in that way. That's a beautiful way of thinking about death. Death is going to happen. Why are we so concerned about death sometimes? Yeah, it's kind of crazy. The reason, of course, because of attachment, holding on. We are kind of sorrowing our own loss. It is not so much that we are concerned about the other person, it's our own loss that we are really sorrowing over. But maybe it isn't really a loss. If we look at these things, maybe it's a gain. If we understand death in the right way, we use that as an opportunity to grow in wisdom. Maybe it's a gain when someone dies. Sometimes we have to be faced by the dukkha. We have to see it, kind of stare dukkha in the eye before we learn to deal with it in the right way. Thinking about it theoretically is often not enough. Okay, so someone dies. Yes, okay, there's a little bit of pain with that, but maybe not too much, because we sort of expect it already. Okay, they are dead. They were a good person anyway. They've probably gone to a heavenly realm. They're probably happy. They're probably sitting up there saying, get on with your life. Yeah, just enjoy yourself. Just live well and I'll see you up here later on. This is often how the reality is often very different from what we think. And then we go, good point. So that means we just have a holiday apart then. And the holiday apart, well, time apart, absence makes the heart grow fonder anyway. So maybe this is all good stuff. So maybe I shouldn't be so concerned. Yeah, okay, let me carry on with my meditation instead. So it's just a matter of perspective. It's a matter of thinking in a different way. It's a matter of not allowing you to be drawn in by the way the whole world thinks, but seeing things differently. And it's not necessarily a very sad thing when someone dies. And then you can meditate, and you can let these things go in your meditation practice. And if you can learn to think in this way, then of course you can see why your meditation is going to be much more peaceful, much more powerful. This is what I was saying before. I was saying about having the right kind of values in your meditation, valuing those things that are truly worthy of value, and not valuing those things that are impermanent and unreliable anyway. If you value the right thing, if you understand what is really worthy of being a refuge for you, what actually matters in life, you change your mind to that, then meditation becomes very easy. Meditation is founded on the idea of right view, understanding what really matters in this life. Then meditation works. This is why the Buddha says in the suttas, 2 foundations for meditation are sila and ujjukaditti. Sila, of course, is the virtue, so you have a good mind state because you feel good about yourself, you're living well. And the ujjukaditti gives you the right values. It tells you what you should focus on, what really matters. It's kind of interesting what you find in the suttas once you start to know them fairly well. There's so many little things like that kind of point you in the right direction. So these things don't occupy your mind anymore. Yeah, because you can let go of these things. I apologize if I'm sometimes a bit flippant. I know it's easy to be a bit kind of stupid with these things, but these things are really important. This is how the Buddha teaches these things. And Buddhism is profound. You can see how profound it is. It is often, it changes the way you think about the world, almost upside down. They don't favor gain or oppose loss. What? It's kind of interesting, isn't it? You don't favor gain anymore. You don't really care if you get that raise in your salary. It doesn't matter. You know that is unreliable and uncertain anyway. Maybe you will never get it. Maybe your boss will favor some scallywag down the corridor who doesn't do their job properly because your boss is deluded. It's always unfair who gets the raise, right? It's never really fair, these things. It kind of depends on what's going on. And you are not opposed to loss. What? Isn't that also interesting? Okay, you lose things. You kind of expect to lose things. You're not really opposed, because how can you oppose nature? If nature says there's going to be wind, are you going to stop the wind? No. If there's going to be loss, it's like the wind in the trees. There is going to be loss. It's just the way nature works. And because nature works like that, there's no point in being opposed to it. You deal with it. You find your happiness elsewhere. You find it in a much deeper place, something far more satisfactory. That's the whole point of the Noble Eightfold Path. You don't favor fame. You don't oppose disgrace. Anyway, fame is just a hassle. Yeah, you can't even go to the toilet in peace. That's what Ajahn Brahm says, according to Ajahn Brahm. I've never had that experience, but you don't favor praise over blame. Okay, you're going to blame me. Okay, it's your problem if you're going to blame me in a stupid way. And if you have some good criticism, okay, let it come. They don't favor pleasure or oppose pain even. If pain is necessary, then it will happen. You don't favor. You may still prefer to have pleasure over pain, but you don't favor it. You don't crave for it because you know that these things are out of control. Having given up favoring and opposing, they are freed from rebirth. There's no more craving, old age, death. From sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, and distress, they are freed from suffering, I say, because they don't get reborn. This is the difference between a noble, learned disciple and an unlearned, ordinary person. Let's have a 5-minute break.
Morning, Ajahn.
Good morning.
If I heard you correctly, you mentioned about the two fundamental qualities for meditation. One is sila and the other one is ujuka ditti. So what's the difference between this ujuka ditti and samadhi?
Okay.
Because based on Google, it's also a straight view or direct view.
What did you use? Artificial intelligence? Or what did you use?
Nobu.
Yeah, artificial. There's a reason why it's called artificial. It's a bit dodgy. Yeah, so be careful with that AI stuff. It means straight. So uju is actually related to the word straight in English. It's the same Indo-European root. It means straight or right. So it basically means right. Yeah, it's the same word. So right view and ujugdi are essentially the same. Right view usually means like the view of the noble ones. So you have when you have really fully right view, sammaditi is like the view of the noble ones, but ujjukaditti is probably a little bit more preliminary. But it's basically the same thing. Straight means in accordance with the Dhamma, not in accordance with defilements. Defilements is the crooked view, the defiled view. Yes. Okay. Thank you for that question. Ujjukaditti. Okay, you have to come all the way back to the other corner.
Ajahn?
Yes.
Just by letting go of this favoring and opposing the 8 world conditions, one can get free. No need to practice Noble Eightfold Path. Is that what it means?
It means that the thing is that you cannot just let go of these things. If you say I'm going to let go of them, actually you're not going to let go of them. It's not going to happen. The only way to let go of them is by practicing the Noble Eightfold Path. That's how you let go of them. So these are not different things. But so the idea is that this kind of reflection helps you to let go. So this is the right view. That right view then leads to the right intention. You start practicing in the right way. It's also a bit of right effort. Right effort is thinking about things in the right way. That's what right effort is. So you're mixing a bit of right view together with the right effort, and that helps you to progress the path. So this is part of the path, this kind of reflection. So this is why, this is essentially about right view, is a right way of thinking about the world. And that thing, if you keep on thinking like that, actually these things will mean less to you. Because you understand, actually they really are impermanent and unreliable. Why am I holding on to them so much? And you start to hold these things a bit, not so strongly, not so firmly, and at the same time you develop another kind of happiness, through the spiritual practice. So it's all part of the same path.
So actually, even though in this sutta, there's only, it's like so simplistic, just reflect. Actually, it means a lot.
It means enormous amounts of things. This is kind of what is so interesting about the suttas, is that they are very profound. They're really, really profound. The meaning is not, this is one of the reasons why it can be helpful to have someone to kind of guide you through the suttas, because it can sometimes be difficult to get all the meaning just by oneself. So even after 30 years, I've been doing this for 30 years, still I don't claim to understand these things fully. And so it's a work in progress. So it is very, very profound. Simple things like this is very profound. This is why go slowly, read carefully, reflect on things, listen to some support, etc., etc. Incremental wisdom, that's exactly right. Gradually, gradually, gradually. And this is one of the reasons I'm quite happy to do the same sutta every year, coming here. And some people start yawning at the back, oh no, the same sutta again. But actually, the thing is not really the same sutta, because every time you hear it, actually it's a bit different. It is, you have changed, the sutta, everything changes, and so it's different. And so we should not be too afraid of hearing the same thing many times. Yes, over here.
Ajahn, in Dharma, I often come across the anicca, dukkha, anatta, the three marks of existence. But in this sutta, it says anicca, dukkha, viparinama. So I just wonder if there is a significance there in why the Buddha did not use anatta here, and why viparinama?
Okay, so I think the idea with viparinama is just to reinforce the idea of change, of impermanence, because it's basically the same meaning as anicca. And I think the reason why he uses not use anatta is because anatta usually refers to your personal qualities. Yourself is usually seen within your own five khandhas. And these are not, they are in a sense your five khandhas, but also in a sense not. We think of these things more as external. Gain and praise, it comes from the outside. So it's not as easily thought of in terms of non-self. In the end they are non-self too, but it's maybe not the most natural way of thinking about these things. Because I think that's the reason. Usually in the suttas, when we talk about non-self, we talk about the six senses. The six senses are non-self. And there is a good reason for that, because it is through the six senses that we experience the world. And if our experience of the world is out of control and unreliable and uncertain, it means that we are unable to control our experiences. It means we are unable to control our feelings, our happiness and suffering. Ultimately, that renders life completely meaningless when you see that. And then you can give things up. So I think it is, even though these things can be applied everywhere, context makes it a bit more relevant in certain places than in others.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Yes, at the back there.
Ajahn, while driving here this morning, my daughter called to say that a huge fire broke out behind our house.
Say again?
A fire broke out behind our house in Putra Heights.
There you are. Okay. There you are.
So it's very matching with this sutta.
Okay. Interesting.
Anyway,
No, thank you for letting us know.
She can feel the heat and the house. Our house is shaking. So because there is a burst underground pipeline, I reflected on anicca, because when I passed by the road, it's like 10 minutes ago, everything was very peaceful.
Well done. well done. Yeah, good.
So I was in a dilemma whether to miss your excellent sutta or to turn back to. And then I stopped my car and checked the group chat, and I realized that they should be safe. You know. So I continued my journey, and I called again. I realized that all 4 of my kids vacated the house without even closing the door. Anyway, so when I was meditating this morning, I had anger because, and then I can see it arising and this leaving me. It's like I can apply it almost immediately.
Okay.
There was this. After I managed to get rid of that anger, there was this piti, a great happiness.
Okay, great. So
it's like sometimes it's. This is just a reflection. Like we think that it's not real, but it just can happen anytime, and we should take the opportunity to practice. And in our daily lives. I find today is like, and then Ajahn was talking about fire so many times. It's like,
that's interesting.
It just
great.
Connects with me so well. No, it's just a reflection about how things happen. I couldn't really focus on this class, but slowly I'm letting go.
Marvelous. No, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing with us. That's kind of really kind of interesting, isn't it? And so this is the thing: is that lessons of the Dhamma are always around us, and how you react to it is whether you grow in the Dhamma or you decline. And so you this was a good timing for you. You're kind of in the Dhamma already, and so you're able to use it in a positive way. And then you can see how it's kind of interesting. You get angry about something, but then somehow something inside of you is ready to let go of the anger, and suddenly turns into happiness instead. That's kind of extraordinary. This is the power of letting go. Letting go tends to lead to happiness in that way. And so you had the tools ready to let go, and then it kind of led you in that direction. So that's wonderful. So well done. That's great.